You think you know Counter-Strike? You know, the spray patterns, the call-outs, the meta. But this isn't about who won the most. This is about the players who broke the game. They didn't just play better. They played differently. They found cracks in the foundation everyone else took for granted and rewrote the rulebook in real time. These are the 5 players whose signature moves didn't just win rounds. They forced every other professional on the planet to adapt or become obsolete. This is the story of the meta shifters. Before there were gods, there were pioneers laying the groundwork. And in the early raw days of CSGO, no one defined a role more perfectly than Christopher Get_right Alisand. The game was slower, more methodical. Teams were figuring out the basics of utility and executes. But Get_right wasn't about the basics. He was about the spaces in between. He became the archetype of the lurker, but not in a passive way. His lurking was an active, terrifying form of map control. His signature style was invisible until it was too late. While his team executed on one site, Get_RIGHT would be weaving through the shadows on the other side of the map, hunting for information picks, cutting off rotations, and single-handedly paralyzing the enemy team's economy. He played a psychological game based on timing and anticipation. You never knew where he was, only that he was everywhere he wasn't supposed to be. His impact was monumental. He made lurking a strategic necessity. It was no longer a role for a less skilled player. It was a high-Q game-winning position that required immense game sense. He was the foundation upon which ninjas in pajamas built their legendary 87-0 map win streak, proving that individual brilliance within a system could dominate, but as the game evolved and teams adapted to systematic lurkers, a new kind of chaos agent emerged. The meta was ready for a shock, and that shock came in the form of Olaf'Olofmeister Kajbier and the Fnatic dynasty. If Get_right was about patience, Olafmeister was about pure, unadulterated aggression. He was the explosive playmaker, force of nature who could single-handedly dismantle a defensive setup. His signature play, the one that truly broke the meta, needs no introduction: the Olaf boost on overpass. During the DreamHack Winter 2014 semifinal against LDLC, Fnatic utilized a previously unknown pixel boost that gave Olafmeister an unparalleled sightline over almost the entire map. It was so powerful, so blatantly broken, that it caused a massive controversy, leading to a match forfeit and an eventual map replay. But the impact went far beyond the scandal. That boost, and Olafmeister's aggressive style in general, forced a fundamental change in how the game was designed. Mapmakers had to reconsider sightlines. Valve had to patch out pixel walks. Teams had to develop new defensive protocols, constantly scanning for previously unthinkable angles. He pushed the boundaries of map knowledge and aggressive utility usage to their absolute limit. Proving that innovation could be as powerful as pure aim, the foundation was set. The roles were defined. Now, the game entered its golden age, and with it came players who combined every skill into unstoppable hybrid forces. This era was defined by 2 titans who represented the peak of what was possible with an AWP and raw mechanical skill. First, Marcelo Coldrea, David Coldrea, was the embodiment of ice-cold consistency and clutch factor. He wasn't just a star, he was the anchor for the legendary SK Luminosity, a lineup that dominated the mid-2010s. While others had flashy highlights, Coldrea had a relentless, methodical efficiency that made him the most feared player in the world. His gameplay was a masterclass in positioning and decision-making, but his signature moment is one of the most iconic in esports history. The jumping a WP kill on Mirage against Team Liquid at MLG, Columbus 2016, in a near-impossible 1v2 clutch situation. Coldrea, low on health, jumped from the ledge near Tetris in mid-air, no-scoped an opponent. The crowd erupted, the casters lost their minds, and that single play seemed to break the laws of what was possible in the game. It wasn't just a lucky shot. It was a statement. It redefined the potential of the AWP, moving it from a purely defensive, angle-holding weapon to a tool of breathtaking, aggressive prowess. He set a new standard for highlight reel plays that were born from sheer confidence and skill. And then there was the birth of a phenomenon. Oleksandr S1 Empol Kostelev. If Koldura was peak efficiency, S1 Empol was raw, untamed talent unleashed. He emerged as the ultimate hybrid, a player who could wield the AWP with savage aggression while also being a top-tier rifleman. His style was unpredictable, arrogant, and breathtakingly effective. He played with a freedom that seemed to defy conventional team play. His signature play is the stuff of legend. The no-scope against Liquid at ESL 1 Cologne 2016 pinned in a 1v2 on Cash. S1 Empol, with his back against the wall, hit a miraculous no-scope through a smoke to clinch the round. This wasn't just a moment of luck. It was the culmination of a style built on believing he could do the impossible. S1 Empol's impact was seismic. He combined raw mechanical skill with unpredictable aggression, making the AWP a weapon of pure, oppressive pressure. He forced teams to play around one player's immense skill ceiling in a way they never had to before. The question for every team became, how do you strategize against someone who can simply out-tame you from anywhere at any time? So you have these unstoppable individual forces like S1 Empol. The natural question becomes, how do you beat sheer, overwhelming talent? The answer arrived in the form of a system. And the system had a face. Nikolai Dev1 CE reads. While others chased highlights, Dev1C perfected consistency. He was the chess master, the system player elevated to an art form. His time with Astralis wasn't just about winning. It was about demonstrating a new philosophy of the game. His signature style was defined by flawless positioning, paralleled utility usage, and a WP efficiency that was calculated, not flashy. He didn't need to hit impossible flicks because he was never in a position where he needed to. He understood timings and angles on a level that made every engagement feel predetermined. The impact of the Astralis era, with Dev1CE as its cornerstone, was to prove that meticulous, team-based play could systematically dismantle even the most gifted individual superstars. They didn't just win tournaments. They changed how teams practiced, how they used grenades, and how they approached the game as a unit. Dev1CE was the proof that a perfectly tuned machine could beat a god. But for every system, there is an answer. And the answer to the era of systematic dominance was Matthew Zaiwu Herbout. Zaiwu emerged not as a player who broke the rules, but as one who seemed to operate on a different set of rules entirely. His gameplay felt effortless, almost reactionary. While S1 Empol's aggression was calculated chaos, Zaiwu's brilliance was in his innate, almost supernatural game sense and timing. His signature style is built on plays that defy conventional timing. He's not just fast. He's there exactly when he needs to be, with a flick that looks more like a reflex than a conscious action. His impact was immediate, creating the definitive superstar rivalry of the late CSGO era. S1, MP, La, Bs, Zaiwu. This rivalry validated the superstar carry model for team building all over again. If Astralis showed the power of a system, Zaiwu and S1 MP Le showed that a transcendent talent could be the system itself. This push and pull between individual brilliance and team structure defined the end of an era. And now we're here. In CS2, the game has new smoke mechanics, new subtleties. But the legacies of these players are written into its DNA, you see. Get_ writes shadow in every smart lurker playing for information. You feel Alifameister's aggression in every team pushing the limits of a new execute. The Koldura and S1 Empol, a WP playstyle, is the baseline for every aspiring star opper. The question is, are we seeing new meta shifters, or are the current stars just building on these foundations? Look at players like Monas Wise's aggressive AWPing is a direct descendant of S1 Empol's playbook, but refined. Or a phenom like Dunk, who's rifle-heavy. Hyperaggressive style feels like a new evolution of the Olafmeister archetype. They aren't inventing new roles from scratch. They're taking the blueprints left by these legends and pushing them further within the new engine. The cycle is continuing right before our eyes. So here's the pattern. The game doesn't evolve slowly. It leaps forward when one player does the impossible and everyone else is forced to catch up. From get_right defining a role, to Olafmeister breaking the maps, to S1 Empel and Zaiwu redefining the skill ceiling. The through line is innovation born from individual genius. The next player who changes everything? They're already playing right now, probably hitting a shot we think is just luck. But it's not luck. It's the next meta being born. Which current pro do you think will define the next era? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe so you see it happen.